moment is here, you can stop your search. It's Comics by Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch, and this is just a kind of a logistical video. It won't do the best, that's okay. But I'm asking just a honest, straightforward question here. This isn't a baiting question, this is a trick question. It's not I know the answer and I'm trying to do a bit kind of question. It's an honest question. And the question is this: right now in comics, and what really kind of, I don't know, what spurred this thought, talking with a friend, we're talking about this this Nubia comic, which is a limited series, #1. And they introduce a, well, they don't, is the thing. They basically introduce there's new Amazons that have arrived on Themyscira. And apparently some people looked at a panel on a comic and determined that one of the characters, one of the new Amazons, was trans. And it wasn't, they're saying there's some subtext there. I didn't see it, and that's okay. I don't need to see it. But put it this way, it was very, very subtle. So subtle, in fact, that the writers had to go on social media to talk up the fact that, yes, you guessed it correctly. I didn't see a lot of people guessing it. Anyway, yes, you guessed it correctly. That's a trans character. And then they went on to say this isn't a check the box, which I don't think they needed to. Like, it came across as overly defensive. Like, this isn't a check the box character. It's this is somebody we're going to actually flesh out and have a full story behind this. And this leads to my question, which is simply this: how are you going to do that exactly? Because Nubia and the Amazon series, it's a limited series, a fairly short limited series. The goal of the comic, I would assume, is to put over Nubia in this new role, kind of reintroduce Nubia. Nubia has not had a lot of comics under her belt in DC. There's not a lot of material out there. It's not a controversial statement. It's a statement based on math. There's just not a lot of Nubia material that's out in the wild. So part of the goal right now for DC is to build up this character. Okay, fine. You're trying to build up more IP and get more material out there. You could market, and maybe one day you do a Amazon attack kind of movie. Wonder Woman 3. I don't know. Maybe one day Gal Gadot asks for too much money and you need to quickly switch it up. Now you've got a Yara Flor option and a Cassie option and a Nubia option. I mean, that's another thing you could do. I don't know where they're going with all this. But regardless, you want to build up Nubia. So you got this limited series for Nubia, which is not going to do much. It's a short story, but there's a lot of limited series right now out. And many of them are rapidly fading from memory. They're coming out and they're gone. The heat on a lot of these comics is almost zero. From the standpoint, I'm in the car and somebody pulled up real close to me. My car is warning me like they're too close. I can see that. Anyway, sorry for that beeping there. Anyway, so you've got a limited series. You're doing this with Nubia, and you're basically saying, hey, we're going to have this. Not only are we going to, in addition to trying to round out Nubia and put more material there and do some work for her, we're also going to introduce all these new Amazons, change the mythology of Themyscira, and we're going to bring in this trans character, and we're going to, give her a full backstory and history and all that. And my thought is, no, you're not. And I'm saying that because how can you? And that is my question. Right now, comic books are really struggling to put over any new characters at all with the material they've got. They don't have the pages. They don't have the time to do it. It's in short series. All they're doing is they're like kind of tossing out kind of names of characters and nothing else. Alan Scott is a gay superhero. Gay. They revealed that he is gay. He came out of the closet. Everything else. Alan Scott is one of the bigger names, and you barely see him. Now, there's promises we're going to see more of him, and I'm sure we will. But DC's barely, and Marvel too, by the way, both of them are having a really hard time just getting any material for the characters they have. I've done the video before. What about Iceman? There's nothing going on with Iceman right now. He's, for all intents and purposes, that character doesn't exist. What was the other character, the drag queen that Cena Grace introduced? Nightshade or Night Mask, or it was something like no, I'm not remembering it correctly. But anyway, introduce this character in the pages of Iceman. It's a big deal. It's like a first drag queen mutant. And where's that character? and we've seen that character. I don't have a lot of confidence that this character, Bia, like first of all, the introduction, the first issue was you have to guess that the character is trans, and you had to be on Twitter in order for the writer to tell you the character is trans. And we're supposed to believe in the next 4 issues of this series that we're going to get a complete backstory and a full, character arc for this character. I mean, I'll believe it when I see it, but I press X for doubt is kind of my response there. I don't think it's going to happen. And so this leads me back to a question I've asked before, which is, if you're not able to kind of get over the characters you have, you're rolling out new characters, fine, but is it doing any good if you're rolling out these characters and they get, a page of story? I mean, people like to throw out on Twitter, it's like, it's canon now. I'm like, yeah, sure, but so? I mean, somewhere in the Green Lantern Corps over the last 50 years, I'm sure there's like a snail that wears a Green Lantern ring that showed up on one panel. That's canon now. We haven't seen that character since, but it was a bold, brave moment for snails everywhere to be represented in a Green Lantern comic. I mean, no, I'm not comparing trans to snails. I'm saying, are you going to actually do anything with this? Now, some of you listening might be going, I hope not. In which case, no need to get too worked up about it, right? Because the odds of this character being any kind of character anywhere at any point, I mean, yeah, I guess this opens the door to having a bunch of trans characters as Amazons, but do you think they're actually going to do anything with that? I'm asking, this is the honest part, I'm asking you honestly. Where do we think this goes? Do we think that there's going to be a War of the Amazons comic at some point, and like there's going to be a tie-in issue called Trans Amazons, and it's just going to be Trans Amazons? I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. Could happen, I guess. But right now we see in Western comics, we see this blitz to kind of introduce all of these characters. I mean, if you're playing the odds, John Kent's boyfriend in his son, Superman, son of John, whatever that title's called. It's a Superboy comic. It's called Superman. In that comic, the odds of that character, John Kent's boyfriend, being in existence 10 years from now is extremely low. And I don't say that because of some kind of hetero agenda. I say that because of history. Go back 10 years, look at some of the stuff DC's doing. Very little of it is sticking. Same with Marvel. Like almost none of it is sticking. So when I see this on all sides, like, how in the world are you going to pull off a full-fledged backstory character for a trans character in the pages of Nubia, the limited series that has almost no buzz? Now, maybe this reveal is going to bring some people to comic shop. I mean, maybe. I don't know that. I have a hard time believing that many. But very few people will read this. The odds of being collected are probably low. Could happen. They collect a lot of things, but again, where are we going with all this? And this is not an argument. It's an honest question. Like, how are you supposed to pull that off? Stephanie Phillips wrote on Twitter that why don't more people interview her? I'd be happy to interview Stephanie. I think that'd be great, and it'll be a pleasant interview. I'm not going to bring her on and like suddenly start like, explain yourself. None of that. But I do have some questions, like, how do you plan to get this character over in a limited series in any kind of substantial way? Or is it just we're going to roll out a couple panels and the character at one point is going to be like, well, I am trans. My heart and my spirit is female, and that's where that's how it works on Amazon land. And you see some of the other Amazons and they're like, we accept you, sister. And then they're like, okay, is that it? Like, is she going to get an arc? I mean, I'm asking honestly. Where are we going with this? I'd love to ask Stephanie that. I'd love to ask, just in general. Like, I have this question overall, which I've asked on this channel before, which is with a lot of LGBTQIA characters sitting out there in the Marvel and DC universe, like, why doesn't anybody take one of those that maybe has not been developed really at all and develop one of those characters? Like, isn't that like just a buffet of characters out there ready to do whatever you want with it? There's not a lot of backstory. You can pretty much define it any way you like. I've heard the argument of like, well, people want to define it, bring a new one to the table because then they'll get all the royalties. But come on, do we think Bia is going to? Do we think this character is going to be in a movie and spin off into a successful franchise to warrant a bunch of royalty? That's not going to happen. So with this complete inability to give even big characters over in books, how is this supposed to work exactly? I think the comic industry has a massive problem. It's funny, there used to be articles. If you remember this, it'll take you back to Comic News Resources, I think, in the early 90s. And people were making the argument that DC and Marvel needed less characters, that they had too many, that their library of characters is so huge, people didn't know what to do with it. It was a major problem. And it just a disaster. Gotta fix that. And what's funny is that you don't hear that argument anymore. You're hearing people say we need to change the legacy characters into new characters, which arguably just amplifies or magnifies the problem. We've heard lots of other arguments, but nobody's really saying any of that anymore. But I think that point holds really true right now. Like, we've got way too many characters. And the problem is they're getting rolled out, very little introduction, no real words on it. If you're not on Twitter or Facebook, you'd never know 90% of the story with these characters. And then they vanish. And all of this kind of erodes this idea. People come to comics and they read comics because they want to see things they recognize and they want to keep going. They want to live the ongoing story. That's one of the big draws to comics. And by constantly like rolling out new characters, giving them a page or two of history and then moving on, like, and you see a lot of the anthologies, like, hey, that woman who outsmarted the Question in the Pride anthology, that in theory should be a big deal. Somebody who managed to outfox the Question and do. But will we ever see that character again? I'm guessing no. Like, what are you doing here? I think that there's a real disconnect right now with a lot of these efforts. It's just there's no room in a limited series to flesh out and give depth to this character. It's just not going to happen. And I think that first off, that makes you kind of wonder what you're doing there as the writer. And on the other hand, for the people who are really angry about this, like, this character is going to get like 3 panels and be done. I mean, I'm not saying it's no big deal. Don't worry about it. You can worry about whatever you want. But the reality is all these things that get people really worked up, they never go anywhere. Do you notice? Like, they all go nowhere. The frustrating part is that then we go for a new attempt with a new character and a new system and a new thing. You have to convince everybody this isn't a checklist again, and we're doing something brave and unique. And you can't get them after us haters, and the haters get angry at it. And then there's an argument, and then the thing comes out, and 2 pages later, they're erased again from all memory. Then we do it again. Like it's very annoying to see that people continue to try the same trick over and over again. I'm here vouching for, can you just work with the trick you got? Like, you made something, like, can you like lean into it? As much as I make fun of Kelly Thompson, and there's a million ways to make fun of Kelly Thompson. God bless her, she keeps pushing that dumb land shark character in every comic she's in. Imagine if every time she did a comic, she created some new dumb animal hybrid cutesy character. That would be terrible. She's gonna continue to dig that Jeff the land shark hole, and for that, I salute you, Kelly Thompson. It's backwards day. Thanks for listening.